Fundamental 4 is all about the key differences between marketing to men versus marketing to women. And basically that comes about from looking at gender science and what that teaches us about how men and women are hardwired differently. The basics, though, are men and women are 95% the same, but the interesting bit for marketers and advertisers is understanding that 5% difference, and therefore how we can use that to actually connect better with women. And let's put this also in the context, this isn't about trying to teach people how to market differently. This is about saying, you're already doing a great job, but can we just fine-tune that, give you the extra 5% to really make that connection with your female target audience. So of the fundamental 4, the first of the fundamentals is values. So there's been studies done around the world, basically asking the genders, what do you see as important values? How would you like to be seen? And what interestingly comes back is it's quite different. For females, it's more about people and connections, whereas for guys, it's actually more about power and status. Give you a couple of examples. Women will talk about being in touch, whereas men will talk about being in control. Women will talk about social support networks, guys will talk more about hierarchy and what's really social standing. So quite different. These actually then play out in terms of how we actually react and behave. And what it means is women overall are actually much more externally focused. So it's not just about them, but how they interact with the people around them. What does that mean? Well, when it comes to marketing, you've really got to think about, it's not just about her, but how what she will do or what she will buy will affect those that are around her. And that will actually affect her buying decision. So the second of the fundamentals is communication. And there's a lot of jokes that we actually talk about. You know, in a standard day, women will use 10,000 words, men will use 2,000 words. But there's actually a lot of truth behind that. And really what it's about is when men actually communicate with each other, it's largely about information exchange. When women communicate, it's the same, but there's a second level as well, which is what we call twin tracking and is actually all about bonding. So not just information, but also how a relationship is actually built. Give you an example on that. Classic one is jewellery in women. Women will actually comment on each other's jewellery, especially if they don't know each other. And that actually, subconsciously, is a way to actually find commonality or connection between two people. And it actually means that women will quite often respond to a comment or a compliment with actually some explanation of where, for instance, the jewellery came from. All of a sudden, a relationship and some bonds actually start to get built. That's quite different to the way that guys actually communicate. So, what does this mean? Well, you've got to ask yourself the question, when we're actually communicating to women as a brand, are we actually building that bond? Are we building the relationship? Or are we actually just selling at her? So, third fundamental is thinking and decision making. And basically what that's all about is the fact that male and female brains are different. And importantly, the female brain has something like 30 to 40% more grey matter, which actually means she has much more connectivity between the two sides of her brain. As a result of that, it's what we call web thinking for women and step thinking for men. Quite a fundamentally different process in terms of how the two gender brains operate. For her then, information is really important. She'll join all the dots up and she'll be constantly looking to review and add in extra snippets of information, extra tips and hints, whereas he will very much more throw out the extra information. Now, the opportunity there for marketers is to say, I can use that need to actually give her information. But it's really important that it's not just about facts, it's also about emotions, it's about opinions. So very important to women that we actually give that and that we actually tap into what we call trusted advisors, people that she trusts to actually be on her side and give her accurate and effective information. How she then takes that and processes it and makes a decision is a little syndrome we call the perfect answer. And really, in a nutshell, what we tend to say is, for guys, a good answer is good enough. But for women, we go through the process of due diligence and we will look and constantly review information until we have not just a good answer, but the perfect answer or the perfect solution. So, a couple of questions here then. Think about then, are you actually giving her the information she needs to actually take things on board and go through the review process? And are you thinking about the perfect answer and how you can actually give her attributes or aspects of your brand that will actually mean that your brand is the perfect fit and the perfect answer? The last of the fundamental four then is managing her world. And that really is all about how women tend to be busier than men for a couple of reasons. They take more on in terms of activities, but also they tend to be looking for that perfect answer. Now, a couple of factors I want to talk about. First of all, think about this. Women tend to be the social organisers of the human race. They tend to remember birthdays, Christmases, that type of thing. And therefore they're more affected by social events and by life stages. So marriages, birthdays, what's actually happening to the people around them. The second factor then is not so much about multitasking, which we all talk about, but rather about maxi-tasking, this unique female idea of trying to actually get more achieved out of one single activity, try and get more done each time. Now how that actually plays out then is when you talk to her and empathise with her and talk about time poor, that's actually not really an insight so much as a reality of her life. And rather you need to be asking yourself, what can you genuinely do to actually help her get more done in her day? So this idea of living life to the max is actually quite fundamentally different for the two genders. I'll leave you with this thought then. Are you actually then giving her what she needs, helping her actually juggle her priorities the best way that you possibly can? So at the end of the day, the fundamental four is all about understanding better what women want, what's important to them, and actually using that to make a connection. And fundamentally, what that means is better connection, increased sales.